So Jordan, I guess the easy but tough question is, what went wrong and how do you fix it?
Well, I mean, the first thing was, the obvious is we didn't play very well. The disappointing thing for me is I think we played very hard, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. You go in, you're down some guys, and you're trying to not put a lot of stress on some guys, which affects your game plan. And then we got the most we got one formation was 4 times in the game. And that's a credit to them. It's good offense. But that's the most we got one single formation out of close to 70 plays was 4 times. And so you're trying to adjust that at the same time with guys, where you're weak. And it's just, that's on me. I got to be better. I got to be a better coach. Got to get them in a better position. And that's the only person it's on. Everybody was, trying their best with the situation that was given to adjust and do what's best for everybody involved in that situation. And that was not good enough. And that's as simple as I can make it.
Lots of formations, but obviously a lot of times that's window dressing. So, did they run a lot of plays out of that, or did they have basic stuff and just ran it out a lot of looks?
Yeah, it's a version of triple option football in different formations with different motions and shifts. There's a personnel in there that we haven't seen. They showed really probably 5 to 6 plays total the week before. You do a little foresight into what you may get. You don't try to go too far to where you're chasing ghosts, but that's what we got. That's what we had to go off of. And so normally their tendency was once you get something in the first quarter, that's what you get for the entire game, and then it continued throughout the game. So again, it's formations, play sets, and things that we did not adjust very well to. And I say we as in me.
Looking back on it, did you see a lot of West Virginia specific stuff that they put at you Saturday that you didn't see last week against Tennessee Tech when they only ran 49 plays?
Correct. Exactly what it was. And that's for them going in, it's really smart. I'm sure that was part of the plan. Why show your hand unless you have to, and so, we just, again, we didn't do a very good job.
You said you guys are going to look at some other people personnel-wise, a few young guys, just some different guys that you guys feel that are ready and worthy of playing?
Yeah, you got to in some scenarios, some situations, you don't have a choice. But yeah, I think we can, based on things from week to week, I think we can move some guys around that situationally can be better versus certain personnel formations, whatever it is, and we're going to look at that.
I'll ask you, when your team's struggling, do you open it up to more guys, or do you narrow it down to the guys that deserve to play?
In game, you try to get down to the guys that deserve to play. You can't. You're not going to look up middle of the second quarter. We got 2 more starters that go down, and say, well, here's this guy, this guy, this guy. You're not. You got to focus on what the guys that you took into that plan, and you got to try to adjust. It's not. You're not going to reinvent the wheel on the sideline, nor are you going to create a player on the sideline.
Normally, what you said after a game is, after a loss, coaches say we didn't play very well, and probably didn't, to be honest. But how good was their quarterback? What he did in that game, how much credit goes that way rather than blame goes your way?
He's a really good player. His athletic ability, fits what they're trying to do offensively to a T. But if you watch him, and where the issue really creates for a defense is when they get in that third to medium range, and where Jalen Daniels is really, really good is he knows where to go and when to get rid of the ball, which, you know, negates any pass rush, any you know, and there's a couple of those we got to make plays on. You know, the fourth down going in before they scored, we got to make a play on that ball. And we had a pressure called. He makes a good throw. The guy makes a good catch. We got a guy right there. We got to make a play on that. And we didn't. And so, but another part of that is he knows where to go with the ball. He's a good player, and credit to him. Knew that going in, and you know he'll continue to be that. You know, we got to when the opportunity presents itself. Okay, in a game like that, when you're constantly trying to adjust and shift and get people in the position, when the 1, 2, 3 plays that come along that are going to win you that game, you have to make them, and we did not make them.
Was first down really the issue? I mean, when you looked at it, it seemed like a lot of second and short or second and medium, third short. Is that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's, again, that keeps you out of your sub, keeps you out of anything that you're going into the game plan with on third down, because the personnels and formations don't have to change when you're in third and 4, 3, 2 down. You know what I'm saying? So you're essentially playing second down again. That's what you're playing. And so, again, there was 3 to 4 to 5 plays in there where, whether it's a tackle, hand on the ball, inside leverage on coverage versus outside leverage, that if we're there, as bad as we played, would have won us the game in the end, if you look at how the game played out. And that's what it is.
Hey, Jordan, you mentioned adjustments a couple times. Just with all the formations they threw at you, and there's not a whole lot of like see and react with their consistency, is it trickier in a game like that to get them on the sideline and draw something up and have them do what you're trying to tell them to do when the pictures are changing as often as they are?
Well, what it does is this. So you go into the game plan with however many coverages, which are going into that game when you were smaller than a normal game, is less volume than the pit game, right? Because you know what you're going to see. So the key part is the adjustments, all right, in that particular coverage or set of coverages. The issue is, when you're having to take one thing, which is what it forces you to do, and adjust it so many different ways, then it may be something that's outside, what's in that adjustment in the playbook. It may be, well, let's try, let's go to this, because you're not going to sit there and call a different coverage. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to make a wholesale change. Then you're going to be in worse shape than where you started, right? So you're just trying to adjust what the actual game plan was. You're not going to reinvent a game plan on the sideline at halftime or whatever. So that's that's young guys and experienced guys. That's hard on. And so, but it's not on them. It's on me. That's what my job is. So, got to be better.
Is there something you wish you had done differently, done better there? It seems like you thought this over.
There's a couple things up front. Going in, we thought we could do to try to, knowing we had some guys out, Charles and Wesley, and we're trying to make sure that we get kids in a position that's best for them, which I think ultimately is what a coach's job is, right? And so, I wish I'd have come back and did some different things, which is where our strength was, and I didn't, and that was the only thing I wish we'd probably could have done a little different, was adjust some techniques, some front alignments. I think maybe would have helped us. But again, you're not going to reinvent a game plan in a 60-minute time frame.
What can you do from the sideline to get you guys lined up? I mean, there was some alignment issues there. Is it on the guys that are out on the field to say, hey, this is where you have to be? Is that correct?
That's great when pieces aren't moving.
Right.
And I can tell you where lineups start, but when the pieces move, how much can you really hear? How much can you, in that situation, at field level? It's again, they break a huddle. I can tell you, you're in a 50, you're in right here, and then it shifts and motions and back and forth. You're trying to see that and listen to me? No, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
You mentioned mentioned that Mumu Benoit and Jacoby Spells may start seeing time. What do you see out of those two?
Just head-see football players, and we got to get them in the right positions. Again, get them in a situation where they can be successful. But they both have a nose. They understand alignments, leverage, how to play the ball in the air. Some safety tendencies, just DB tendencies in general, not necessarily safety corner, just DB in general. And so move those guys around, see if we can get them in a position to help us.
Same thing with Andrew Wilson-Lamb. Where's he at right now?
Yeah, Drew stay at corner. Drew's a kid. If you go back, Drew's a really good player. He's going to be a great player. All right. Drew played mainly receiver in high school. Okay. So where we have these great expectations for these young players, all right, it's still this huge adjustment period, even if they're in their second year, especially when they played a position that's different. All right. And what happens in Lamp is extremely fast and a really long player. All right. And it's a lot like Sean Martin. I compare it very similar to Sean Martin. Okay, you put Sean Martin here in his first 2 years, he takes on a block. He's not strong enough to control the body that he has, right? Lamp is the same type of player, just a different position. He's an extremely long kid, right? Was a light kid coming in. So when you've got this long body, okay, and you're playing a position that requires you to bend at the ankles, knees, and hips, right? Then your body has to train to control that. Otherwise, you're just long and can run, which is a great skill, but at some point you got to cover, right? So to make those movements and bend like that and move like that, it takes time with Mike Joseph and in the weight room. And Lamp will be totally fine doing that, all right? But he's not he's just quite not there yet.
You mentioned Sean Martin. I think Neil mentioned him as another guy that deserves a little more playing time. Is that what you see?
Yeah, and I think if a guy that played well up front, it was Sean. Yep. And yeah, his role will increase, and it needs to. He's ready for that. I think he kind of understands what he can be now, and then there's some positions that we can get him in up front that'll really, really help us, particularly against a team like that. The next time we cross a path with that style of offense.
Explain the process of the light going on with a kid like Sean Martin, who comes along, and then all of a sudden in the second year, third year, whatever it is, it happens. How does that work? How do you work it?
No, well, the game just has to slow down. We created this environment where these kids coming out of high school in the recruiting process, where the expectation is here, and it shouldn't be, because that is I don't care where you come from. That jump from high school to this level is huge, and from junior college to this level is huge. And so the expectation is there. I get it. I understand. And some guys are ready faster than other guys. But for some guys, that's how long a development takes. If that wasn't the case, then the NFL would lift the 3-year rule and they just go from high school to the NFL. If it didn't take that long. For the majority of guys, everybody likes to look at the 2% of unicorns out there that can go and start right away, but that's the reason they're the 2%. And the other 97, 8 of them have got to develop, and that's it may take 2 years, may take 3 years, but it takes time.
Jordan, you're the older guys you brought in for experience purposes, thinking like Lee, the 2 corners, safeties. How have they done so far? And learning curve for them still there?
Yeah, it is. It is. I think Rashad, played okay. Again, you're in a situation where you're trying not to stress guys, and the offense forces you to stress guys. Particularly outside. 2 that have to be better are Lee and Hershey. But again, those junior college players, there is a adjustment period there that it's, games are different practice, so it's got to slow down. A guy like Hershey McLaurin, when you get a guy that's a one-year guy in junior college that's a qualifier, you're essentially still getting you still got a freshman, right? He's 4 years to play 3. So, and then the older guys, of course, Wesley we didn't know was till the second half. He was out first half, and Marcus Floyd, and he knows this. He's got to play better.
Thank you, Coach.